So now we're live. So hi.
Yay. So here we are, Theater for the New City, and they're cheering outside my window. And are they cheering outside yours?
Yep. It's 7 o'clock.
For all the people that are making sure we stay alive, right?
Yep. The heroes.
So I am so pleased to present what in effect is my granddaughter, Briana Bartenieff. She is 18 years old, right? Are you 18? You're 18 and a half, right?
Yeah. You want to get technical, yeah.
And you are a poet and an actor and an essayist and a college student.
Yep, all good things.
Yes, going to Purchase College. Mm-hmm. So I think you, and you're a published poet.
Yes.
Because your poems have been published in newsletters, and you've had 2 poems published in a wonderful newspaper, an online newspaper called The Village Sun.
Yes.
And I think one of those poems you're going to do tonight. And yeah. I think that Purchase College got hold of that poem and they put it on their website.
Yeah. As how their students are like helping the community with COVID-19, and it went under that.
Right. Yeah. So tell me a little bit of what was your school like? I mean, after all, you were a high school student.
Yeah, that's how it works. You know, I went to an all-girls Catholic private school, Notre Dame, and then I went to a state university that's an arts college. So talk about change of worlds. You know, I had to wear a uniform, but now I don't, and everyone's wearing either pajamas or their best outfits that have paint on them. But in all seriousness, I love my school. It was my dream school, so I'm very happy to be there. All the classes are great. All the teachers are great. It's just a very good environment.
That is true, that Purchase has a wonderful rep for art, for theater. And as a matter of fact, you are tuition free with a scholarship.
I am part of the Excelsior program, yeah.
And I think you would have had a very hard time being able to go to college if you hadn't had that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Artists have no money. That's the name of the game. They always tell you got to fall back on something, because you're not going to make a living as an artist. So what happens is you study very hard on the thing you're going to fall back on, and you end up doing that.
Yeah.
So those of us who have been brave enough to say, I'm going to be an artist, I am an artist, I will always be an artist, and in this case, a theater artist.
Yeah.
Well, we pay the price.
We do.
However, you were offered a scholarship in a very fancy private university, but you chose Purchase. So.
Yeah, because that's where I wanted to go. That had the best environment. It was closest to me. I got to live away, but not really live away. So,
Right. So, can you tell us, not too much though, about you, because I really want you to tell us the poem, but say a little about the poem and give us the name of it, and then you could just recite it for us.
Okay, great. So the first poem I'm going to read for everyone is called Fever Dream. I had to write it for a class. I'm taking a performing oral and history tradition class. That's like a really great class. And my teacher, wanted us to write about our world before Corona and like the whole quarantine business, and our world after. So like my world at purchase and like my world now at home. So that was just basically like comparing the suddenness of everything, and how one day I was sleeping in this bed and now I'm sleeping in this bed, and how there's less noise and all that. So yeah, so that's what this is about. Okay. Fever dream. Waking up to the sound of the one train rolling by. It reminds me of my old life before the fever dream, where there was fresh air and music everywhere, and no one gave a care about how they were seen. For it was their art that made them. It was their art that created them in their academic scene. Hammock on the lawn, partying till dawn. But now that I'm lying here, I'm asking, what does it all mean? How can an invisible killer take away a big part of what meant so much to me, returning me express delivery, back to where I had spent most of my history? I had worked so hard to get to the land not too far from me, and to have it all ripped away will be one of my greatest tragedies. I never appreciated enough that freedom to learn, but now I take it with me as I sit behind a screen and type aimlessly. I do like where I live. I missed my family, but I was robbed of my process of maturity. And now that golden land that I once lived on, that had that sweet, sweet scent of imaginative personality, now just feels like I always felt. Too good to be true, like a fever dream. The end.
What a sad poem.
That's my forte. My forte.
I'm sure that an awful lot of young people feel that way now.
Yeah. It's just everything was so sudden, and
Right.
you know, it's hard because a lot of my friends, and me included, like, we're freshmen, so we're not even really used to the whole college thing in general.
Right.
So what we've been told and what we've been told is going to be our experience and what we're going to go through and how class is like and all this, we're just barely getting used to it.
Right.
And now we're like, the schools and everything's like, no, it's online, you're at home, it's a complete disconnect, everything's through your Wi-Fi. You know, it's just it's very hard. And I mean, most of the teachers are very understanding. You know, as long as you just show up and you send in your work, eventually you'll be fine. But a lot of people, like, their grades are suffering because they're just not used to the environment.
Right. Well, okay. So, what is your second poem?
Oh, forgot there was a second. Okay, so this one, I was kind of going crazy in quarantine, as everyone and their moms, but I am really struggling with a sense of time. I don't know what day it is. For the first 2 weeks I was here, it just felt like one really, really long day. And then after that day passed on, it just felt like I was here for 2 weeks, but I was really here for a month. And then I just looked up today. I've been here 40 days now. This is day 40 in quarantine.
Really?
Yeah. So on day 23 of quarantine, you know, like 17 days ago, I decided to write a poem that took all the craziness in my head at 3 a.m. and put it on a page. So here it is.
What's it called?
Oh, it's called Day 23 because, you know, it was day 23. The muteness of the streets, the blaring sounds of the ambulance screeching someone's end, the news playing on a roll because someone let Miss Rona out with a fever. Got a tiger stuck with the flu, no sports. What the hell are we gonna do? Masking our panic with the holy N95. Can't remember the beauty of the sky. Used to sing of the apex predator, but now she lies under my nails. How dirty is her deadly trails, leaving the body to die. Got no air, seems like the sign of the times. Don't know where to go like a rhyme in prose. Who the hell knows? Not the man at the top, or nor does my neighbor at the top shop, or wherever he goes. Stuck between the front and only door. Can't even get stuck under a rock because that requires going outside. Damn, I thought this year would be mine, but now I rot listening to songs made by depressed hippies while my rotten poetry. This is the life I'm in, baby. Can't take that away from me. It's day 23. What's freedom? A forgotten melody. Yeah. So
that's also, it's not sad, it's angry, and it's hard in heaven.
Yeah, very very
we are all under a rock now.
Yeah.
We are. But we are sort of together under a rock. We are together, we are isolated from each other.
As they say, we're alone together.
Alone together.
It's nice. It's nice, but alone does come first. So that really it always hits you first that you're alone, and then you're like, oh yeah, I guess we are together. But it just, you just get used to it. You get used to it, and then time just moves on without you, because that's what we're supposed to do. So,
So now, do you have one or two more poems?
I have two more poems. One's the long one and one's pretty short.
Okay. Well, you wrote a new one, so don't do that one last.
I'm doing that one last. Good.
Okay. So what is this poem about?
This one is the one that was published in the Villager Sun.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this one is sad. But this one, I wrote it as soon as I knew what was happening. I was like, I have to write about it. I have to write something about it. I don't know what I'm gonna write, but I just have to write, because if I don't, I'm gonna go crazy. And I felt like that for about 2 weeks because I couldn't put down to words. I was in a lecture over Zoom for purchase with this author named Edwidge Danticott. She's a great author. And she was saying that people who are writers now, they do want to write about it, but people feel like it's too soon to write about it because, it's happening now and we can't kind of wrap our heads around it. She compared it a lot to 9/11 because people wanted to write about it, but it just felt too soon. And especially the first 2 weeks that I was here, every day was changing in the news. It wasn't that bad, and then it was the worst, and then it was in Westchester where I was in college, and then now it's where I live here in the city.
Yeah, it was actually in New Rochelle, which is very near your school.
Yes, it's very near my school. I went to New Rochelle 2 days before my quarantine, which was not smart, but I did not know. But yes, I was in Westchester where they had double the cases at the time, and it was scary. It still is scary, but it's more here than up there, which is good because I have friends and loved ones up there, so it's good. So yes, this one's called Stages of Grief because I didn't know.
What's this called?
Stages of Grief.
Stages of Grief. Okay.
Yes. There's nothing quite like it to be compared to, at least in my lifetime. But The only thing I can relate it to is nothing new. It's the stages of grief. Instead of watching the coffin disappear into hollow ground, you're trapped within it, pacing, wondering what it would be like to breathe once again, something fresh, something new. We knew it was coming, got a sense of denial, but we've been diagnosed with a case of the American dream, meaning it won't hurt us if we don't let it be seen, if we work and watch from afar, saying, silly children, it's not our problem, but someone else's, someone who's different from us, poorer and dumber, and one who doesn't have the luck that we do in our water streams. But when our faith runs out, and this terrible killer lies itself in our filthy lands, we get angry at those people who suffered with it first. Because where's the fun if we do not have someone to blame? Humans need a reason for their own naivety. Guilt does not run in our eyes until we see a loved one die. Now we are the one thing we hate the most, the victim. So we beg and plead, bargaining for a better deal, to beg the devil just for another day in the sun, while ignoring the pleas from the elderly hum, to try and wash the blood off our hands, the blood of those who we ignore, as the poison scent of youth intoxicates the sweetest of our generation. But now the lowly caged bird sings sadly in its home, grieving of the life it was supposed to know. Instead of seeing the blue skies or hearing the voices of the happiest aglow, its new definition of the world fits in its palm, all on a tiny screen, with the news drowning out the howling of true loneliness. Time ends up losing its deity and ends up producing a great tragedy of lives lost, both physically and mentally, because of death does not begin at the end of a heart and its beat. It also begins when you cannot bring yourself to your feet. Yet as time moves on, we start to see things differently as we sober up from the luxury of access freedom. We accept that this is history, that we're living in it, even though it's a hell of a monstrosity. We appreciate distance, for it can be life-saving. And although most of us don't know someone who's died, I think our disregard of saving humanity has. And I think we now know how important life is, even if it is a stranger, because at the end of the day, we all got a heart and soul. And by knowing its importance, our importance will get us through this virus, the virus of forgotten kindness.
The virus of what?
Forgotten kindness.
Well, that's a great poem.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
I told you you should write one poem that had a little hope in it.
I know. Well, that's what the last one is. That's what the last one is.
Well, I haven't heard this.
No.
Okay. This is a surprise to me.
Surprise to everybody. Yeah, this last one, it was something I heard today, and I was like, you know what? This reminds me of something else that's happening, and it's positive. So I really tried with this one. I mean, to be positive. Okay. This one is called The Ice Cream Truck. When you've been inside for 40 days, feeling stranded and lost like Jesus in the desert, anything that happens, anything that comes by feels like a miracle. And sometimes it's the warmer weather, like spring, that things are changing, that we're getting away from the death and isolation of the winter. But for me, spring never came into its own till I heard the ice cream truck sing. It wasn't the newly awakened bird's song. It wasn't the cherry blossoms. nor the shimmering streams. It was hearing the nursery rhymes coming out of that pink and white truck. For me, that meant things were changing, and that the seasonal sadness would be over soon, and we'd be free to go wherever we'd please. And although it's still a little early for the ice cream truck to do its round, I still hear its cheer and hope every day out my window at 7 p.m. The ring of the pots and pans make me feel a little closer to the other side of the bend. Hearing the echoes of appreciation and togetherness reminds me that we aren't alone. And together we will get out of this strife and live life as it should be. No longer stuck, but together eating ice cream from the ice cream truck.
Ah, I love it.
That's positive. I really tried.
Positive.
That's positive.
Very positive.
Very positive.
Oh, I must say, I'm very proud of you. You are really in the tradition of this family. I hope someday when after you get your PhD, that you're going to help, that you're going to take over this theater. That means I have to live that long for that to happen.
There you go. There you go. There's my challenge to you.
And I also want to announce to everyone that we are going to have a reading of a new play by Toby Armour on April 26th. That's next Sunday at 7 p.m. And we are going to have other spotlights on poetry in the time of COVID-19. And I am so pleased and proud to be a part of your evening, Briana.
Thank you. Thank you for giving it to me.
All right. And with that said, we're going to say goodbye.
We're going to say goodbye. Yep. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.